Thanks for staying with us here on Eye on Ocean County. I'm Laura Jones, and we've been speaking with Deborah Howlett, president of New Jersey Policy Perspective, a liberal or progressive think tank. We've been talking about tax caps. We've been talking about the governor's budget. You don't think it's good policy, and you would like to see some other proposals moving forward, such as perhaps a local income tax, things along those lines.
Well, I think from our perspective, a local income tax may not be the best solution. Okay. It's better than a property tax, but maybe not the best solution. I think one of the best ways to control property taxes and local government spending is to have greater contributions from the state. So aside from the property tax that goes in, the state contributes aid for municipalities and schools. And New Jersey actually has a very low ratio in terms of state assistance. I think it's somewhere in the order of 45-55 split, 43-57 split. And other states it's more equalized. So if you increased state aid to municipalities, that would help reduce the property tax burden, especially when you're capping taxes. But to do that, you have to change the tax structure that we have. And you have to broaden the income tax a little bit. It has to be there have been no income tax increases in New Jersey since the Florio administration. It's just people consider it, the broad-based income tax increases. People just consider it to be the third rail of politics. The sales tax in New Jersey doesn't cover clothes, doesn't cover groceries in store, which it does in other states. It's high at 7%. It's one of the higher ones across the nation, but it's very narrow in what it covers. There's none of the services, anything like that. Corporate taxes in New Jersey are very low. There's a lot of complaints that businesses are overburdened on taxes, but in fact, they have the least burden of anybody else in the community in New Jersey in terms of taxes. And then the other broad category is fees, and those are pretty substantial. There are taxes on cigarettes, excise taxes on cigarettes, alcohol, fees that the state charges, those things. So there needs to be, it was one of the things that Chris Daggett talked about when he ran for governor, and he proposed a restructuring of taxes, and people saw that as tax increases. But in order to restructure, you're going to have to increase some taxes so that other taxes will go down. And we're not advocating a huge tax increase, but there need to be adequate revenues to fund the essential functions of state government, and they need to be fair. And income tax is generally the most progressive, fairest way to tax people because it's based on ability to pay.
So our tax system is regressive.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
It's not as regressive as some states, but it's fairly regressive.
How would you say, you all, New Jersey Policy Perspective, you've been around, that dialogue has been out there, but if the Democrats in the legislature can't get what they want, of course it is a Republican governor, how successful do you think that you all are going to be in advocating and changing the dialogue and trying to get some of your ideas across?
Well, the tax structure is just one thing. We've actually had some successes. We just wrote a report a year after paid family leave, which we've advocated for years and years. And it was enacted and signed by the Corzine administration, and it's been in effect for a year. And we just found that 26,000, mostly women, 80% were women, took between 4.5 and 5.5 weeks of leave, either to care for a newborn child or a newly adopted child or an elderly parent, something like that.
More reality.
But they were able to take time in addition to their sick leave or their vacation time at work and be paid. So that they could afford to take the time to care for those family members. And it's paid for through contributions, payroll tax deductions, to a fund the same way that unemployment insurance is paid for or temporary disability is paid for. And it's a very minimal amount each paycheck. I don't think anybody in New Jersey paid more than $35 in total last year to fund it. And it's very successful. And there were a lot of complaints from small businesses that this was a bad thing. It would cripple them. They wouldn't be able to. And there haven't been those complaints.
Employee,
sure, and
because they're a small business and you lose an employee and you have to pay them while they're out. And
it's a burden for the employee to be gone for 4 weeks or a month, but they don't have to pay them, so they're not on the hook for the salary. They have to find somebody, maybe a part-time or a temporary person, to do the job. But it's worked out very well, and I think that's one area where there are other areas outside of the actual budget. Where good things have been accomplished.
Well, tell me a little bit about the Opportunity Scholarship voucher proposal.
Well, this is a proposal that's out there that would allow corporations to fund scholarships, as I understand it. It's sponsored by Senator Lesniak. It would allow corporations to fund scholarships for students in failing school districts to go to whatever school they chose to, a private school, Catholic school, wherever they wanted to go to school. And whatever corporations give those scholarships, they would get a tax credit in return. And the figures I've seen show that that would be up to $360 million in tax credits for corporations, which is close to 12 or 13% of what the total corporation input revenue is from corporate taxes.
And what's been the response to that so far?
Well, I think it's been a mixed response.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of support for it, especially among Republicans.
Because with the new Commissioner of Education, Brett Schindler, we heard so much about just school choice and vouchers and things like that, not necessarily a business credit.
This is different from charter schools. I think there was a lot of opposition to just straight checks to parents to send their kids to private schools. This is a whole sort of different way of financing it. Our feeling about it as a policy matter is that it's never good to give public money to private schools to educate our children. If there's a problem in public schools, it should be fixed. There are a lot of folks out here who think this is the fix to failing public schools. So there's a lot of controversy around it. I think we disagree with that.
Okay, well, we'll have to end it there. And it was such a good conversation talking about property taxes, the cap. Thanks for watching Eye on Ocean County. We'll see you next time.